Alright guys, here we are again, and what we're going to be doing today, it's already 7 p.m. so not sure how far we're going to get, but I'm going to get this foam tore up, get this storage box tore up, and I think I still need to get some more fuel out of there, but see if we can get the fuel cell out and the wood in the transom. So see how that goes. Alright, now about an hour and 10 later, we got that side pretty well cleaned out, except for in those pockets. And I'm gonna do that later as I get my oscillator back out. Hopefully I get this side pulled out tonight yet. Alright guys, got the fuel tank out and that was not fun. Rivets everywhere galore, and only half of them wanted to come out and the other half had to come out with a pry bar and a sledgehammer. Specifically like this last one right here that came up. It worked out fine, except for the fact that the fuel tank is in there and there were rivets riveted from the other side, so I don't even know how they did it aside from if they entered it from that end, but it really doesn't make any sense to me. There's a rivet there and a rivet up right there. I actually had to take a pry bar, force it in between there and break it in order to get that out. After I got these other supports out, I got it out fine. Had most of the fuel drained, maybe 10 liters or so, so it wasn't heavy. And yeah, I'm hoping tonight yet. It's 8:30. I'm hoping to get the rest of this transom out and see what we got there. All right, here we got her. And like I quite literally just took it out. I don't know if you can see it in the video or not. It's rather wet. Most of this foam was actually waterlogged, about an inch and a half down. It was waterlogged. I had to take a lot of these OEM rivets out. They aren't fun to do, but tis what tis. Had all those rivets along the top. There's a piece of angle iron up there. And then got all these other bolts. There were a lot of bolts in the back. You have to straighten this out a little bit. See how it's bulged out a little bit. 2 people and a block and a hammer. And we moved to the back, and this is what the transom looked like. The top half is still solid, pretty well brand new. I would have never thought anything of it. This is the bottom half. As I took it out, it just fell apart just like the floor did. And it makes sense under the water line, right? So that's all for today. That's where we got her at now. And oh yeah, there was this aluminum plate, which is actually perfect, because we'll be able to use that as a trace for the new one, just for the keyhole, because that bottom part broke off. And that's all she wrote, folks. All right, Thursday afternoon. Don't got a whole lot of time. It's grocery shopping day, so I'm gonna be taking off these black caps, rub rails along the side, so I know what I'm working with there, because I want to replace that piece of tin and the piece that was all the way at the back. I'm gonna be, all you do is you take that off right there, the caps at the corners, and they slide right on out. After you get that off, all you do is pretty well grab her right here. See if I can do this one-handed, and you pretty well work it and pull her out. She often gets stuck, so you need to either cut it in half or you push it from the back. Something at the back might be holding it. So take off the back as well, and you should be able to push and pull it all the way through. And just like I thought, this piece right here was on there with 2 rivets. Take that off and there's a rivet holding that on. Good news, actually. That came out very, very nice. Hopefully the rest of it does too. You can see all the garbage that I took out of it. What you do with this stuff, if you want to replace it, it had a bit of dock rash on the one spot. Not too sure where it is right now. But you just take a small piece of it into your local marina, and they normally have a few books that you can go through. But luckily here we just have the screws holding it in, and that should come off fairly easy. I don't think there's any nuts or anything on the inside. And yeah, should be able to take that off right easy. I'm thinking about maybe getting this powder coated. I'm not too sure on that yet. And then I should be able to take off that back piece and this front piece off fairly easily and get that replaced. The reason for that is there's so many holes on that, and need to do something with it. So I figure the cost of aluminum isn't too bad. Just simply replace it. All right, so I got all these side pieces off. Those came off fairly easy, hit all the rivets out. And this top piece is just gonna be a pain. Got to drill all these rivets out. And the reason why they suck is because those are the OEM rivets and they're not fun to do, reinstall. And then there's a couple up here and that piece should come off, and I'll drop that off at my automotive or my steel guy and get that replaced. And then this front piece up here doesn't look too bad. It should just be those 4 rivets on that side, 4 rivets on this side, and then a few coming along up here and on that side. So that'll be easy to do. And that's everything that came out of the boat, and then including some more stuff over here. So I was actually expecting more. Got this back piece off, got all the rivets out. That seemed to be a pain. Got that front piece off and pretty well all the rivets that I need knocked out. So now it's time to clean up. Got that right there vacuumed up. Looks a whole lot better than that. So plug away at that, and yeah, and probably get the pressure washer out and get her cleaned up some more. All right, got everything power washed out, vacuumed out, and then, or vacuumed, power washed, then vacuumed again. The water wasn't draining to the back, and what I found was a lot of these voids, you can kind of see through that one you can't. There's junk in between, so I'm gonna have to grab a file or a snake of some sort, clean those out. And a lot of these is fairly expected. There's cracks along the ribs. They're not too bad actually. That one doesn't have any, but that one does again. That one's probably the worst. Not sure what I'm gonna do with that yet. Just leave it or get them welded, or do another brace across. We'll see. I'll get some advice from a few others. And get back over here now that we got her clean. I tell you, the more you clean up, the nicer it is to work. What we're doing back here is we need to get all that glue off. So what I do is you grab either acetone or just paint thinner is what I use. You take her and you just simply, you brush it on. You don't gotta go crazy on it. You just kind of brush it on so it soaks in a little bit. You'll be able to feel it pretty well working right away. And then you grab a scraper of your choice and pretty well, sorry, there you go. It comes right off. And yeah, depending on what scraper you have or how long you let it soak for, it does a better or worse job. And as you do it, you get the hang of it, find out what works and what doesn't, and you go from there. And before you know it, you'll have a clean hull on the inside. All right, so I'm going to show you guys another method. Here's I was going to show you. That's the MS251. That's the paint thinner that I use. It's Omni's PPG product. And then all I do is, again, I take the brush and I'm going to show you a bit of a cheater's way to do it here.
Cheater's way, or works not hard. Then you brush it on. Only do a small area as it dries out fairly quick and doesn't like to stay soft. Thicker areas, I don't know if you can see on the camera. A little bit thicker right there. Yeah, right on, a little bit heavier. Set that back down.
Then you grab an oscillator. And whoo-wee, does it make your life a whole lot easier. Just around the edge here, you need to do it with a putty knife because I tried over here and it actually gouges it very easy on the side swipe. So you just do that with the hand, and then I'm going to come across it later again one more time just to get these other rough spots out, and That's all she wrote. Yeah. You don't need an oscillator, but it helps. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of Saturday. Got all the glue off pretty well anyway. Take a look there. And this is how much this whole cup is full and it's packed in there. That's how much glue came off. And so pretty well up to this point we're clean. I just need to clean up, sand the gunnels, and then when I get this back piece and this front piece back from my aluminum guy, I'm gonna be sanding and priming it and painting it because I'm gonna be painting the outside of the boat at some point, whether it's this year or next, I'm not too sure. But while the boat's empty, it's gonna be easiest to paint the gunnels and the front and the back. So I'm gonna be doing that. But to this point, it has taken a lot longer actually than I thought it was going to. It's actually taken me about 25 hours, talking rather conservatively, but about 25 hours to get to this point. And we are, like I said, aside from the gunnels, we are ready to start piecing her back together, which is, that's when it starts to get fun. To get to this point, it's very hard, discouraging, just simply because it does take forever. 25 hours, that's a long time to not see any progress except for an empty hull. So, yep, here we go. Starting to put her back together soon. So we're gonna be doing the transom. Kind of started a little late, forgot I was doing a vlog. The transom is 2 inches thick total in the center. And then this back piece is 1.25 inches, a 1/2 inch piece and a 3/4 inch piece. So what I use is Baltic birch. Marine plywood to me is a rip-off and unnecessary. So I got a piece of 1/2 inch and 3/4. You lay it out, you cut a little bit bigger. You draw it out, make sure you draw all your holes kind of where they're at, and that way you don't put screws in those spots, because then you have to cut through them later and that's no fun. So what I did is I kind of laid it out accordingly, and then I'm going to be cutting it off, or undoing it, and then I'm going to be using fiberglass resin, put it all together, and then I just nail her full of screws to hold it. I always leave the screws in there, never had any issues with that in the past. And yeah, let's hope it works, because if not, that's 150 bucks down the drain. All right, so what you do is you get the resin smeared out. This was 300 mil worth polyester resin. Then I take a trowel. I usually like to use 1/8. This is actually 3/16, so way bigger. But if you tilt it quite a bit lower, instead of doing it like this, you reduce it drastically, and then you can spread it out evenly. Alrighty, so it's after dinner. Got all my screws in there. You can see how many are in there. Again, you try to stay away from anywhere you're going to cut. It's dry to the touch. It's definitely not cured, but just dry to the touch. So I'm going to flip it over, trace the template again, the other side, and cut her out. Do not use a belt sander. Use a grinder. What I normally use on a grinder. It's a 24 or 32 or 36, something like that grit. Just on a flat disc on it's a Walter. Yeah, Walter backing pad, and it usually does a really good job. Size, but now this lip here needs to be trimmed here. Where are we here? This lip, right along there, on this fatter piece, needs to be trimmed up. I think about 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna go measure it on the boat, and we gotta get that trimmed up. Otherwise, it won't fit. So all I'm doing is you take a square. I don't even know what one of these are called. You put her in the back, and you loosen it off, and then you can push it down so it hits right up against the bottom, and it looks like we're just over 1 inch, probably about 1.125 inches. So go take this over and trace it onto the piece of wood, and you can cut that out. Otherwise, the 2-inch piece won't fit down in that groove. Got that all traced out, and set your saw depth so it only goes through the first layer, so 3/4 inch. And not through the second layer. And when you get that cut, you grab yourself a chisel and a hammer, and you knock her out. So this has been out here for about 1.5 hours at the max. And I just peeled up on that side a little bit, and it didn't want to come up at all. So that tells me we got a good bond. All right, for the first dry fitting, you know, she actually dropped right in place. That angle there is a little off, but not even, because it's gonna bow out a little bit. Fits perfectly in the track in the bottom. Comes up. The gap on this side is nice and uniform. The line right up top with those holes. It's pretty well spot on. And yeah, I'm gonna draw out all the lines on the back side, or all the holes. Mostly, I'm just worried about that big keyhole, and get that cut out, and then another coat of resin front and back, and drop her in place. So I've actually got a lot done since I recorded last. I brought this away to the machine shop, and you remember there were the cracks in there, and they just put small gussets over top, and got this new front piece cut into place, riveted into place, and ready for paint. Maybe a little bit more sanding on there. Move our way to the back of the boat. That's the new piece that was bent and put into place. Gonna be sanding that, and hopefully this is Thursday. I'm gonna get it painted on Saturday. All right, so I'm reinstalling the fuel tank. What I'm doing is I'm taking seam sealer, get it over here, PF206 Proform. You just take it and put it all on the single rivets. There's really no point doing it on the seams because they can leak inside these ribs. They're open in the center, and there's no point doing on top of the rivets on the seams because it can leak between the two seams, like right in between there, right where they meet, whatever. So just do them on the single rivets. Scuff them up a bit with the wire wheel, and off we go. Guys, that's gonna be the end of this video. Got the fuel tank in, all the supports riveted up, got those brackets in there. Got a weekend coming up with a weekend away with the wife, so won't be working on it. Hopefully, the next video will be a few weeks, but that's all right. I'm gonna hopefully get these sides painted up, get the floor installed, the foam in, and hopefully those side panels along there put in. And that's all for this one.